So we're live, and we'll wait a couple of minutes for everybody to be connected. Welcome to those who are already here. If you can hear us, hear me, see us, feel free to mention this in the chat, and perhaps you can also mention from what country or city you are listening from. We know that most of you are probably from Russia, possibly also from Kazakhstan, but let us know from which city you are listening in from. In the chat, if you can. And it's good if you can also let me know if you can see me and hear me. Moscow, okay, that's great. So give it one more minute and then we will kick off. Hello, also Moscow. Always good to have the capital of Russia with us. Nijmegen, we have Russians from Nijmegen. That's always nice. Okay, dear attendees, dear guests, dear speakers, welcome. At another Dutch Science Talks lecture tonight. My name is Jerke Verschoor. I'm the director of the Netherlands Education Support Office in Moscow. We have a translation available indeed, as you see my colleague have written that down. So if you prefer to listen in Russian, please click that button and you will immediately get an interpretation in Russian. We'll also have a speaker who speaks in Russian tonight, and then you can switch to English, whatever you prefer. Now, as you might know, our office tries to enhance collaboration between the Netherlands and Russia in the field of higher education. That is why we, among other things, organize these talks on a range of topics. And tonight, the topic is designing the future, and we have 3 fantastic speakers. But before we move to them, I would like to pass the floor to Janette Verrijzen, who is the cultural attaché of the Kingdom of the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Moscow, the embassy who supports us really well with this project and is the co-organizer of this project. So Janette, please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, and a good evening, everyone. Also from our side, we're happy to give this occasion for you to see something very cool, I hope. This is about design, and design is not only about objects. It is just as much about thinking towards the future and reframing the present in order to get to a solution. The end goal is to make life better. It could be done through upgrading cities or renovating buildings, by creating physical or virtual public spaces or new apps. The Dutch approach to design is very versatile. Dutch studios working around the world are always ready with smart and fun ideas to address the key global challenges with new solutions, for instance, in the spheres of materials, technologies, and other innovations, or in this case, also new materials for interior design. Whatever Dutch designers invent, they are always trying to make the world around us cleaner, safer, gentler, and all in all, a better place to live in. ANN is a material research and design studio with a unique interpretation of surface design. It was founded in 2014 by Alissa van Asseldonk and Nienke Bongers. ANN creates materials that build intriguing and enriched spaces for those who live or work in them. With human beings in the center of their approach, and in close collaboration with both craftsmen and high-tech industry, they design innovative materials, objects and installations for interior architecture. Their aim is to enrich these environments and improve the well-being of people, while they use materials that let us interact with our environment. This means researching human perception as well, creating new materials to improve our daily life, and explaining what our future environments will look like. Since 2014, Alissa and Nienke worked with a lot of spaces. And during this lecture, they, and of course Jelena as well, will tell about their work, their inventions, and they will answer to the questions that you, the audience, might have. I hope you have an interesting lecture. Jerke?
Thank you very much, Janette. And as Janette said, we will start soon with Alissa+Nienke. But as we like to do, we also invited a Russian, so to say, counter speaker. And that is Elena Medvednikova. She's an interior designer, CEO of Svoboda Interior Design Studio, and a lecturer at the British High School of Art and Design in Moscow. Now, after Alissa+Nienke have finished their lecture, Elena will shortly give her perspective from the Russian point of view. And then the floor is open to questions. And I would like to ask the attendees, please use the Q&A function to ask your questions. And after them, I will pose them to the speakers. We hope you will enjoy this evening. And with this, I give the floor to Alissa and Nienke. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jerke, and thank you for the nice introduction. Also, Janette, it's good to all meet you and share our lecture with you tonight. We're just starting things up. Do you see it full screen now?
Yes, we see it full screen.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
So, welcome. Yeah, welcome to our studio as well. We are actually sitting at exactly the same table. Here you see us working from our studio in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. And today we will actually be talking about how surfaces enrich spaces and how we merge high tech and crafts to create materials for well-being.
So here is the first impression of our studio and what kind of projects we are working on. We create site-specific installations for interior architects. We design materials for our own material library that we offer directly to clients. And we do research projects to keep developing our studio.
So here is an overview or a sketch of how this all works for us internally as a company. So you see research and development forms this really strong basis of our studio. So we focus a lot on the perception and experience of people, and at the same time on material manipulation and researching material techniques. So this constantly feeds our projects and products that land in the real world, but it also works the other way around. So the projects we work on for clients also provide knowledge, insight, and new ideas for research and development projects. But what is it actually we aim for to do as a studio with all that research and all those projects? So here you see our mission. Our mission is really to design innovative surfaces and signature walls that enrich environments and enhance the well-being of people. So therefore we focus on these three subjects of relaxation, concentration, and stimulation by triggering your senses.
So we developed 3D wall coverings, for example, that you can touch and trigger interaction. Here you see one we made for a hospital in the Netherlands, where we developed a site-specific piece at the end of a hallway in the intensive care area.
But one of our specialties is also to create signature wall pieces that make a space really come to life. Like this wall panel you see here, we designed it for the main meeting room of a large biotech company in the Netherlands. It's 7 meters long with circles that move by the wind. So when people enter the room, it all starts becoming alive, but the natural airflow also makes it jiggle a bit. So when you're in a meeting, you constantly see it moving. But how did we actually get from our graduation at Design Academy to the point our studio is now with the two of us?
So one of the projects that defined or was sort of starting point from our studio is the 3D wall covering project Mirabilia. This actually started as my graduation project, which was entirely made of paper. And this, of course, is not a very suitable material to apply to interior spaces. So we decided together to develop it with our studio, which is not a very easy task. We did a lot of testing in larger surfaces. Here you still see them in paper. These photos are really old, and you can also see that we were not really good at taking good photographs of our work yet. So we found a partner, a company who was willing to do a lot of tests with us, which is really great. And it's a printing company. it's a funny company, because maybe it's not the direction you're looking for, but printing companies, they have really large cutting machines, which they don't use very often. So most of the time they are not in use. And we did a lot of testing with them to figure out how to make this wall covering in another material. As you can see here, it's a textile with a coating, so it's very durable now. And this is a sneak peek backstage, which shows that there is still a lot of handwork in. Here you see Alissa actually like gluing the 2 layers of wall covering together.
Yeah, so all of this effort and hard work and all this research together with a partner did actually originate in a real collection of different designs of this 3D wall covering, which can just be purchased per square meter, and we can actually easily customizable it in colors or different designs. And it's also very durable material, so we can apply it to spaces and it can be there for years. It's easy to clean. So for us, that was really a great outcome of starting as a really small, actually we started as design graduates, and then with this project really grew into the design field. Because here you see an application for one of our biggest clients, for Christian Dior. We did a lot of boutiques around the world for them, and this is actually the first design we ever did. So it's in Taipei boutique in Taiwan. And currently we are actually making way larger seamless pieces up to 3 by 4 square meters. But another big part of getting from 2012 to 2021, where we are now, was actually getting ourselves out there in the world as a studio. So meeting people and showing our work.
So in 2014, we became a part of the collective Dutch in Virtuals, with whom we showed new work every year at the Dutch Design Week and during the Salone del Mobile in Milan. And this is an exhibition in Eindhoven. And it was a really great introduction to the design world, because we got to meet really a lot of new people and really developed our working method. I remember the curator saying, Wendy Plomp, she said, when in doubt, always make a new work. It enables you to fine-tune along the way, but get out there to actually be able to take the next steps professionally. And this was worth a lot for us, because when we were stuck, we were like, oh, think about what Wendy said.
Yeah, and that's really where our ideas and concepts got fine-tuned, and from which we really developed this working method with the emphasis on these subjects you see here. So about our methods, we wanted to make it very tangible for you how we work. So here you see our table full of samples. We work in a very hands-on way. So our studio is full of these samples that actually form the basis from where we work. So we really discuss new projects while holding the samples in our hands, playing around, generating new ideas, and also discussing with each other. And we call this thinking through making approach, because we believe it's so important to get ideas out of our heads and into the real world, into our hands. So you not only can review it, but you often also spark something in the creative process.
So during the years with all these samples, we have created our own material archive, and every sample we make, it gets cherished and we keep it. So this was an exhibition where we hung all the samples on the wall in our studio. But of course, it doesn't always look as organized as this, because normally everything is wrapped very carefully in boxes. This is our cabinet studio. With,
This is everyday life.
This is everyday life. Which is very useful, by the way. You should really, it's really good to organize your history very well.
Yeah, and for that archive to grow, so for all those boxes to get filled, and to develop ourselves as a studio, collaboration is really the key. So we are really used to working with a lot of different partners. So here you see a quick overview. So we see collaborations in research partners, in production partners, but also the client who will apply our work into the context. We closely collaborate with them. And for us, the most interesting projects are probably where these fields merge and where everything comes together. So collaboration means to not only work from your own head and from your own studio, but to really get out there in the world, and also digitally, of course, in the world it is now. But it's also about finding a common language. So here you see us working on a project in Italy, where we really learned a new craft, where we collaborated with local craftsmen, and not only find a common language like in between English and Italian, but also in the way you work and understanding each other. And always different expertises lead to fresh perspectives.
So the Sun Show is one of the projects where we really involved crafts and high-tech expertise. This assignment was very clear. It was for the Minister of Education. It was very clear, but also very free. Minister of Education, Culture and Science. And this private meeting room where she is always supposed to sit, she's always supposed to sit on one side of the table, looking out at this view, but the light was really bright, so she couldn't see the people sitting opposite, and they would like turn more into silhouettes. So the question to us was, please design window blinds based on your innovative material manipulation. And it really all just started with these paper samples that can move and they can pop up and down. We once made them for a previous project and it ended up in our archive. So we showed these paper samples to the state's secretary and she really loved them and gave us the full go on the project, which was really nice. So right from the start, the collaboration came in. We didn't know anything about sensors or motors, so we involved Agile. It's a product development company nearby Eindhoven, where our studio is. But we also don't have like a textile background. You might think this, but no. So we teamed up with the highly expertise textile lab in Tilburg.
Yeah, so this is a fast forward to the end result. Here you see panels that were woven in a very refined way using a transparent yarn, and they can open and close very gently during the day. So they're based on a solar sensor on the window, on the light sensor. It actually moves or pops up when it's more dark outside, letting the light come in, and it slowly closes when the sun shines very hard in the windows. So this for us is a great example of how we can apply technology in a more soft way. But of course, we didn't easily get to the end result. I think you can see the movement. Yeah. Not before endless sessions with both the partners we were working with. So we actually had to develop a textile front on one side, but in the other side, we also had to develop and design a functioning back part of the installation that would actually move very gently in exactly the right way. But every time we changed something on the one side, we had to change something on the other side as well. And this happened over and over again and again and again.
Here you see a short movie that really zooms into the process.
We zijn heel snel begonnen met letterlijk met papier werken, testen maken. Hoe beweegt het nou eigenlijk? En toen kwam er die ademende beweging eigenlijk. Dat iets open gaat en dicht gaat. En open en sluiten. En dat vonden we wel een heel mooi gegeven om op die manier met licht te spelen. Dus vanuit daar zijn we elke keer een stap verder gegaan. Ja, wij ontwerpen eigenlijk echt door te maken. Ja, en er zijn gewoon mensen die hebben al die kennis over het weven. En het is dan super tof om samen alsnog tot een innovatie te komen. Dus door opeens andere garens te combineren om die kwaliteit te geven aan het materiaal. wat wel interessant is aan die ruimte, is dat daar heel veel, er is geen direct licht, maar er komt heel veel licht binnen in die ruimte van de zee. Maar dat licht is vaak heel fel, maar niet altijd. En daarom hebben wij de bewegende ramenkleding gemaakt, dat dat licht gereguleerd kan worden. En we zijn gaan kijken hoe we daar een spel mee kunnen spelen.
Yeah, for us, this was really a great project to work on, really developing all of the skills and creating a site-specific piece that's like dream projects for us. On to the next, Biomirror. Biomirror is a research project in which we collaborate with an environmental psychologist and 2 research groups from the University of Technology in Eindhoven and Delft. The project originates from a pilot we did in 2014, so we look very young in the image here. We teamed up with the Future Everyday Research Group of the University of Technology in Eindhoven. So that research group has expertise in researching new technology and its application in future daily life, and they are specialized in biofeedback technology. So biodata like your heartbeat or your breathing pace or stress level is measured and visually presented to you in such a way that makes you more relaxed. But where this research group fully focuses on a virtual representation, we actually as a studio researched how we could apply this method in the physical world and developed this concept for a deep breathing tool you see here to train you to be more relaxed. So this tool actually moves up and down, first in your own breathing rhythm and then slowly takes you towards a more relaxing breathing rhythm. We are now further developing and testing this our concept in virtual reality together with the University of Technology in Delft. So we can actually really easily prototype and change design characteristics. Because that's really what we want to research in this phase of the project is involve a lot of people as testing persons, and we want to test different design ingredients to see which preferences people have related to relaxation and to comfort. So you see here we designed 3 pop-up shape walls with each a set of 3 variables, so in size, rhythm and color application. And we want to research which design combination actually triggers people to breathe in such a same rhythm as it shows, and which design also makes them more relaxed in general. So in the VR space, we designed a game with different rooms, and every room has 3 options. And here you actually see a flow diagram which we designed for that space. So people enter the VR space and they choose their preferred option in every room while we are interviewing them. So we are constantly asking them questions why. So in the end, we will know which of the 82 design or 81 design possibilities is the preferred option, but also according to what they say, but we also know how people actually weight their choice or what they said or what they thought in the meantime. And the next step will be if like we analyze this first testing round, then a preferred or perfect version of Biomirror comes out as a result. And we want to test that version with a larger group of test persons, with people connected to sensors. So we will first give them stress with an increasingly difficult math game. So it's all approved by the ethical commission. And afterwards they can sit down in virtual reality, relax and experience our Biomirror. And afterwards the sensor will actually tell us if they catched up with the same breathing rhythm and how quickly their stress level actually decreased. So this research is conducted in close collaboration with the psychologist, who will analyze all this data, and together we will create a toolkit for future prototyping and research. So our aim for the future is also to be able to use this toolkit to create biomirrors for future, for multiple environments in the future, like offices where you can have it in a meeting space where people spend a lot of time, but also for healthcare concepts where people might feel very anxious before they get tested. And we really hope this project will land in the real world and benefit a lot of people.
So a totally different research project we're going to show you is POP. We started this with a production partner and fully zoomed into the material and the technique. So the production partner is Kino Design. We have worked with them before, but always in a client-contractor relationship. And they have scaled up an engraving technique for microelectronics to apply to large-scale surfaces. So we did a lot of testing with shapes and folding open the shapes. Here are some examples. So really testing and more testing to really see what we can do with their material in a fun and playful way. And of course, we also looked at the reflection and the colors. It actually reflects the environment. I'm like waving with a colored piece of paper in front of this sample. So we designed this panel in a way so clients can really easily unfold the panel itself. So it's very easily customizable. So this is not one of the two end results. You actually get a real preview here because we did not launch this collection yet. And this is called Coins. And one of the aspects, like I mentioned before, one of the aspects we research is the folding lines. It all looks really simple, but it's super technical because you really have to think about how deep to engrave them and how wide the lines should be. So it's really like going into the detail of the material and the material thickness and these kind of things. A little video to see a reflection, so it really reflects the space very nicely.
And then the last project we want to present to you is Surface of Sound. It's also, again, very much project on its own again. It started with the 3D wall covering we often design for Dior interiors, which we showed you before. And we got an assignment from Edge Berlin. So this is a Dutch project developer building a property in Berlin. And their whole concept or view on the world is that they want to only build buildings that really add to the well-being of its users. But they mostly focus on the hard aspects, so air quality or acoustics. And they actually asked us for an idea for their meeting room. So how can we improve the well-being of our meeting room? They have one experimental meeting room in which the designers could really create new and crazy ideas. So we developed this idea for a multi-sensory installation. So here you see 5 images of different versions of our wall covering. And our wall covering is already made in such a way that it really invites you to touch it and to interact with it. And all designs are different. So the one you might stroke up and down, and the other one from the left to the right, or really discover it in new ways. And we wanted to add a new layer of discovery here. So what if you touch the wall covering and you do not only touch the wall covering, but it actually reacts to your touch. So we incorporated sounds and scent, so it could really be becoming this lively surface that would react to you touching it. So the intention was that before a meeting, the employees of Edge would interact with the panels and really getting out of the workload, becoming more relaxed and becoming fully open-minded before their meeting. So we thought, okay, this is a really nice concept. Probably we already have the wall covering. We just need to add like audio boxes or speakers, and we just need to add a sensor. So what if we use a movement sensor? And then we asked a friend of ours who is a technology designer, like, to just add this movement sensor. And he said, no, I have another idea. We can turn your whole wall covering, all of your materials, into a large touch screen. In that way, you have way more control over it. And we really liked that idea, but it was just a concept. He has heard about it before, but we needed to do a lot of testing. So here you see the first results we did with a conductive copper layer. So the copper actually, how do you explain that? Actually, when you touch the copper, like the copper is measured, and when you touch it, the resistance drops. So actually the computer will know when you are close to the copper. But this is actually also a good example again of how we work, and what something that happens to us a lot is that within a project we have this idea, and it grows and grows and becomes way bigger than it was supposed to be at first.
Yeah, so we needed to cover all these panels with a layer of copper, but it couldn't be too heavy. So we ended up using snail tape. We really felt like we were 10 years old in the craft club again, like sticking this tape on the wall. It looked really nice. But we really loved it, and it shows our hand-on approach. The copper is actually, it's not hurting the snails, right?
No, it's not.
No, but it's keeping, apparently if you put this in your garden, the snails don't want to go over it.
And working with this foil, so we were gluing it to the boxes, but it also meant that it was very easy to apply it in this way. So we had a new idea. What if we do not give every panel its own sound, but we can actually cut the copper away again, and we create different areas and different fields. So here on the right side, you see a drawing of one of our panels, which is 2 by 1 meters. With its own sound set. So every colored area has its own sound. And instead of just making one design, we made a different design for every one of those 5 panels. So we really involved a sound designer to create sounds based on the wall covering we designed. And we really gave color to the wall covering in such a way that everything mixed and became one concept.
Yeah, there was one thing like making this project bigger, because we actually invited the sound designer in the beginning before we started the project, and then we made it bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, we were really happy that he was also very enthusiastic into making his own assignment bigger and bigger, because he spent a lot of time on making these really beautiful sounds for us. So this is the result. A lot of late night working and a lot of stressing to finish it.
Yeah, this is in our studio where we were just sampling and testing all the panels if they worked correctly. But we did accomplish this too. So here you see the finished end result, the installation ready to be shipped to Berlin. So this is still in our studio. But now it has been installed in Berlin already, where it will be used, where it is already used in this experimental meeting room. And we already got a question from our client, like, oh, it's so popular, everyone is touching it all the time. I'm afraid it will tear down in a year. But of course, yeah, we could assure him that it would be working fine afterwards. So in the next slide, we will see a short movie of how it functions. So these panels already detect you when you're very close to them, so from 10 centimeters, and then the volume actually increases. So the more you push, the higher the volume. And this is a concept we also want to further develop right now. So together with the sound designer and the programmer to really research what is the best way of interaction and how can we really refine this. So for us, what this lecture showed you is that we have a really hands-on way of prototyping. And for us, it's really about creating, experimenting, collaborating, and really especially involving other fields of expertise. Because I think that's where projects become of more importance and really can find their spot in the real world.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we already go to the questions yet.
No, you don't.
No.
But thank you very much. It's very inspiring to see this, and it looks so easy when you explain it. But I'm sure there is well, as you said, a lot of stressing nights behind it. But I'm sure I would love to have these kind of meeting rooms that you have shown us. Thank you very much. Now, before we go to questions, I would like to ask Jelena Mitwitnikova to give her presentation, and then we'll go to the Q&A. Thank you, Alissa+Nienke. Jelena will speak in Russian, dear guests. So for Alissa+Nienke, I think you should turn on your translation mode. Jelena, пожалуйста, вам слово.
Добрый день. Меня слышно?
Да, слышно.
Отлично, спасибо. Запускаю презентацию.
Пожалуйста.
Скажите, пожалуйста, видна ли моя презентация?
Да, видно. Пожалуйста.
Отлично, спасибо. Я еще раз представлюсь. Меня зовут Елена Медведникова. Я дизайнер интерьера, основатель студии дизайна интерьера «Свобода» и преподаватель в Британской высшей школе дизайна. Работая над нашими проектами, мы создаем интерьеры, вдохновляясь архитектурой, искусством, индустрией моды, путешествиями. Мы используем натуральные, экологичные материалы, стремимся использовать последние технологии. И, конечно, в центре проектирования для нас находится человек, его эмоции, ощущения, комфорт, безопасность. Поэтому все, о чем сегодня нам рассказывали Алисса и Нинке, очень откликается у нас. Спасибо за вдохновляющую лекцию. Это удивительные материалы, которые вы создаете в своей студии, и те исследования, которые лежат в их основе. Это очень интересный опыт для общемировой, и я уверена, что наверняка и российским дизайнерам, и студентам, которые обучаются у нас в Британской высшей школе дизайна, будет очень интересно следить за вашими дальнейшими экспериментами. Спасибо. Как я уже сказала, в центре проектирования нашей студии и находится человек и его эмоции, ощущения, комфорт и безопасность. И поэтому при выборе материалов и мебели для наших проектов мы концентрируемся на технологиях и предметах мебели, материалов, которые обладают свойствами sustainability, устойчивого развития, осознанного отношения к окружающей среде. И также для нас очень важно создавать интерьеры вневременные, которые не теряют актуальность со временем. И поэтому мы стараемся использовать в нашей работе авторские предметы мебели, созданные художниками, проектировщиками, которые обогащают среду и делают жизнь людей лучше и несут ценности, помимо удобства и комфорта, еще и какие-то духовные ценности. И поэтому для нас очень важно обращаться к российским дизайнерам, в нашей работе. И сегодня мне хотелось бы рассказать о нескольких инициативах от российских дизайнеров, которые отвечают тем принципам и той философии, которые транслирует наша студия. И первое направление sustainability. Вот несколько российских инициатив в этом направлении. Я хотела бы представить вам компанию 99 Recycle. Это мастерская в Санкт-Петербурге, Recycle Upcycle мастерская, которая производит различные предметы из остатков, обрезков, батутов, резиновых лодок, различных тентов, палаток, а также проводит эксперименты в области переработки пластика, пленок, крышечек от бутылок. В Инстаграме можно посмотреть над их работой, исследованиями, и очень интересны их инициативы в области коллаборации с производителями мебели. И вот такая коллаборация. Российская компания, также из Санкт-Петербурга, «Дело дизайн», разработала стул на основании материала, который создает компания 99 Recycle. Это плиты, панели из пластика, который перерабатывается из крышечек от бутылок. Более ранняя инициатива, схожая и отвечающая тем же принципам устойчивости, это стул-табурет, который был представлен на выставке салона Satellite в Москве в 2018 году. Авторы его Никита Горшков и Петр Крашинский. Стул-пак, который сделан из стружки, остатки от работы с фрезеровочным станком. Еще одна коллаборация российского дизайнера Гарри Нуриева, основателя Crosby Studios и модного дома Balenciaga. Это диван, который был представлен на выставке Art Basel в 2019 году. Как арт-объект этот диван привлекал наше внимание к проблеме того, что модные дома сегодня не распродают свою одежду, и вопрос утилизации одежды стоит очень остро. Было много резонансных случаев, когда дома моды сжигали свою одежду, и вот российский дизайнер предложил вот такое вот решение и создал диван. Поверхность дивана также сделана из переработанного пластика, а наполнение этого дивана составляет одежда, которая не распродана модным домом. Сейчас этот диван стоит в магазине бренда Balenciaga в Париже. От выставок в Майами к выставкам, которые проходят в Москве, не могу не рассказать о замечательной инициативе. В прошлом году Британская высшая школа дизайна студенты нашей школы участвовали в конкурсе на лучший стенд для выставки «Батимат Россия». И темой выставки было создание выставочного пространства, коворкинга. И победителем в этом конкурсе, реализовавшим свой проект на выставке, стала Екатерина Старикова и ее стенд с названием «Reuse». Екатерина предложила такую вот интерпретацию рабочего пространства, коворкинга. Каждый предмет или материал, который здесь использован, посвящен проблеме переработки материалов. И если отдельные предметы мебели и материалы являются уже переработанным пластиком, то центром композиции является остров, созданный из 1000 пластиковых трубочек. Именно такое количество, согласно исследованию девушки, студентки, именно такое количество среднестатистический московский бар используют в течение месяца своей работы. Очень впечатляющая инсталляция, привлекла большое внимание, и вообще сегодня, конечно, любые инициативы, которые способствуют привлечению внимания к проблеме загрязнения нашей планеты и к осознанному потреблению, сегодня активно поддерживаются в Москве различными дизайнерами и дизайн-школами. Второе направление, которое очень интересно нам для исследования, а также использования в наших проектах, это авторские предметы мебели, созданные вручную зачастую. И в данном случае мы на слайде видим предметы, созданные дуэтом Ивана Басова и Семена Лавданского, проект «Басма Концепт». Авторы, художники, проектировщики создают предметы коллекционного дизайна, мебели, используя современный подход и современные технологии, однако в основе лежит древнерусская техника чеканки листового материала басма. Вот так вот они работают, и это абсолютно ручной труд, потрясающие предметы мебели, которые выставляются на различных выставках, и в том числе в 2019 году ребята представляли свои предметы мебели на выставке и салоне Дель Мобиле в Милане, и были отмечены жюри, средствами массовой информации. И сегодня мы активно следим за их работой и за теми предметами мебели, которые они создают. Для нас важно то, что такие предметы мебели могут находиться с человеком на протяжении всей его жизни и передаваться из поколения в поколение. А также эти предметы транслируют, откликаются у нас и транслируют наши внутренние культурные коды. Еще один проект, дизайнер Андрей Будко, про который мне хотелось бы сегодня рассказать. Этот дизайнер создает ковры из войлока. Войлок – это традиционный материал, который в России используется, всегда исконно использовался для производства валенок. Известно, это обувь, которую в России зимой одевали раньше на ноги. И поскольку это войлок, шерстяной материал, для того, чтобы он не впитывал воду, сверху на валенки одевали резиновые калоши. И вот дизайнер решил использовать этот материал не совсем традиционным способом для создания дизайнерских ковров. Это ковры, которые созданы из войлока, и рисунок на них – это строчка. Дизайнер давно исследует ковры, которые производились и производятся в нашей стране. Некоторое время назад, когда многие из нас были маленькими, популярным было вешать ковер на стене. Это было украшением домов и квартир. И когда дизайнер Андрей Будко был маленьким, у него тоже дома на стене висел ковер. И он помнит, как он водил рукой по рисунку и исследовал геометрию ковра. И когда он вырос, эта идея его не покидала, и он создал вот такую вот геометрию, то есть новое прочтение старых каких-то историй, которые откликаются у каждого жителя нашей страны, и для нас эти традиции возвращение к каким-то визуальным кодам имеет большой смысл и сегодня приобретает все большую популярность. Спасибо. Я очень рада сегодня рассказать о некоторых российских инициативах в области создания материалов, предметов мебели для дизайна, которые могут быть интересны.
Spasiba, Jelena. Thank you very much, Jelena. I think we have both, I mean, the audience and myself inspired with so many nice projects. And then the question to start off with, which was also posed in the chat, is, the interesting thing is that there's quite a few people who immediately ask, okay, where should I study design? What is the best university to study design? Now, we're not going into what is the best, because that's very personal. But what could you advise to develop design thinking? So how, and I understand you must maybe have a talent, but you all, Alissa+Nienke and Jelena, also developed, of course, in this way. Could you maybe share some of your thoughts how you went into those into that process? Alissa+Nienke, would you care to kick off?
Yeah, design thinking, it's of course a skill we actually learned a lot at the Design Academy. And I think it really has to do with looking at things or situations or the environment or the world as a whole from various angles, and also collaborating with different fields of expertise. And in my experience, already getting yourself out there and speaking to other people, and not only being in your own head and your own studio or your own student room, already helps a lot in that way. I also believe that not only designers can apply design thinking. I think might be everyone who can do that.
Thank you. Jelena, what is your take on this? How did you develop?
Для нас в британской высшей школе, где я преподаю, большое значение в любом проекте на разных факультетах имеет концептуальный подход и исследование, которое проводится прежде чем создается какой-то продукт дизайна. И вот глубина этого исследования, на мой взгляд, исследование места, времени и всех необходимых факторов, которые важно учесть, позволяет нашим студентам внимательно смотреть на этот мир широко открытыми глазами и быть готовыми создавать какие-то новые вещи, которые будут действительно полезны человечеству. И это такая глобальная наша цель.
Thank you, Jelena. That actually brings me to the next question, because Alissa+Nienke, the topic of the lecture is how technology and crafts merge for the well-being. Now, well-being is of course also a very a large umbrella, you might say, terminology. But from, of course, your presentation, I think we understand that you think of the well-being of a person also in a healthy lifestyle. Is that correct, or how do you then would evaluate well-being? What is that well-being for you in your work?
Yeah, for us, the well-being is really about how you feel as a person, and specifically in our work, I think how surfaces and spaces can actually improve your well-being in such a way. We also researched a lot of how the human brain actually works, and the human being is one of the few species in the animal world who keep on exploring and playing after their child phase. So this idea that you constantly want to explore or research your environment, that is where we really dive into as a studio. So our 3D wall covering is also printed in the inside, so actually the color changes when you walk around it. So we really, all our designs are there to appeal to people, to add softness to a space, and actually to trigger all your senses and go on exploration in the world and actually see what is already out there. So how the wind blows, or how how light shines in through the day.
Thank you, Jelena. I mean, I could also argue as a non-expert, of course, that a design would be good for well-being of everything. So if we look at a nice chair, or we sit on a nice divan, or we look at a beautiful wall covering, it's also good for our interior. How is this being taught, for example, at the British School for Design? Do you take this into account? The well-being.
Действительно, мы всегда обращаем внимание на своих студентов на то, что сегодня в 21 веке, учитывая то, какая окружающая среда порой является агрессивным фактором, на то, что человек проводит огромное количество времени в закрытых помещениях. И особенно эта проблема усугубилась в связи с пандемией, когда мы все оказались заперты в наших домах. Поэтому при разработке пространств мы всегда обращаем внимание наших студентов на то, что когда особенно они работают с жилыми пространствами, но также немаловажно учитывать все эти факторы и при проектировании общественных пространств, важно создавать максимально благоприятную среду, то есть давать возможность в интерьере человеку быть все же ближе к природе всеми возможными способами. И вот исследования, которые проводятся дизайнерами, и в том числе вот прекрасные исследования в отношении мозговой деятельности и реакции человека на различные тактильные ощущения, световые, эти исследования имеют сегодня первостепенное значение.
Thank you, Jelena. And I see a hand with Janet. Janet, please.
Yeah, well, I have a question for both Alissa+Nienke and Jelena, and that is, what is exclusivity? I mean, I understand that design is supposed to add to well-being of people, but does the fact that something is unique and is an art object helps for the strength it has to encourage well-being? Or could you also imagine good design to be in the IKEA and help everyone feel better?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I think good design could be everywhere indeed. The thing is, if you are a small studio, yeah, how do I explain this? When we create objects and we produce them here very locally, if we talk about like the cost of an object, it very easily becomes a bit more exclusive, which is not our goal, but that's because of the situation, like it's produced in small amounts.
Yeah, and also the way that we work on quite innovative concepts, collaborating with local or EU-based companies, because we try to work as local as possible with responsible materials. But at the same time, we do focus on clients for whom we can make installations and design works where way more people can experience it. So we rather focus on like semi-public spaces or meeting rooms of large companies than focusing on a really Upper East Side New York apartment, for example.
Yeah.
So that's where we define that goal, but of course for us it is interesting on how to think about how to get this concept more widely
And what I think is interesting, what you were saying, because we are a small studio, we can very easily, very quickly innovate in a way. And I think if you are a big company, it depends how much time and money they're spent on R&D. But sometimes for us, it's a lot more easier to not think about the, the financial outcome of something. Of course, it is also very important for us, to keep on going. But we can just, if we are like this morning, we really feel like doing this, then we can just decide together we want to do this. We don't have to talk to the board or the directors.
Yeah, it's a luxury, but in that way we also try to influence other people with our work.
But it would be great to in the future collaborate with or advise companies like IKEA, for example, how to improve
daily life.
Yeah.
Jelena, would you like to add on it?
Да, спасибо за прекрасный вопрос. Я хотела бы сказать, что для нас также всегда важна какая-то эксклюзивность именно в формате кастомизации интерьеров, с которыми мы работаем. То есть создание абсолютно уникальных каких-то решений, которые отвечают потребностям нашего заказчика и того объекта, над которым мы работаем. И в данном случае, конечно, какие-то уникальные вещи или авторские предметы мебели, авторские материалы, они являются эксклюзивными. Но сегодня кастомизация – это то, к чему стремятся и крупные компании, которые предлагают кастомизировать свои предметы и предлагают дать возможность каждому создать свой уникальный предмет мебели. И такие инициативы есть у масс-маркет компаний, и я думаю, что IKEA вполне может выступать с такой инициативой. Ну вот могу привести пример из мира моды, когда компания Nike предлагала расписывать покупателям кроссовки и создавать абсолютно уникальный эксклюзивный предмет.
Thank you. And then I come to a question that's a little bit connected to what Janette said, and also a question from the audience, Lilia Sergeyeva. And it's also, it gets back to what Alissa+Nienke said, that you have the luxury to come into your studio and say, okay, today we want to work on this or that. But how can you predict demand for design products or pieces of art? And how do you calculate selling potential of the item or product? So we have some very hands-on questions. Question from Lilia Sergeyeva.
Well, that is, again, a really good question. And I think for a long time we have maybe not had, but taken the luxury to just really work on the things that trigger us. And then see what it does out there in the world. So we do not work in such a way that we do market research upfront, but we actually slowly build this basis of expertise, collaborating with other knowledge platforms as well. So we know what's out there in the world, but we also try to exhibit our work very often. Unfortunately, for the last year, that hasn't happened a lot. But when we travel to other spaces, so exhibit our work in other countries as well, meeting people and see what their reactions are, we also fine-tune our work and sketch further on that. So again, yeah, sometimes you just produce something and it doesn't work. And a lot of times we actually see designs getting picked up after 3 years or so.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of communication, a lot of talking to people, and really listening is very important.
Yeah. So it's all the more pity that we could not invite you physically to Russia. Well, we did invite you, and you were about to come, and we had a lot of meetings arranged for you with Russian designers, and we would have certainly visited also the British School of Design as well as others. But maybe that's for the future. But Jelena, would you also like to comment on how can you predict demand for design products or pieces of art?
Ну, конечно, есть сегодня большое количество компаний, которые исследуют рынок и предсказывают тренды, но если мы говорим о каких-то предметах искусства и каких-то эксклюзивных вещах, Здесь, мне кажется, не стоит задумываться о трендах, таких микротрендов, которые меняются каждый сезон. Здесь, мне кажется, имеет смысл ориентироваться на глобальные крупные макротренды, такие как, например, wellbeing. И исследования в этой теме определенно будут иметь ценность и сегодня, и спустя большое количество времени. Поэтому все разработки в этом направлении имеют большое значение на долгий срок.
I think that's a very smart advice indeed. Thank you very much, Jelena. A question, back to Alissa+Nienke. You mentioned in the beginning that one of your designs, one of your biggest clients, you actually said, was Christian Dior, which is, of course, I think wonderful to be able to mention that, because, of course, it's a name that rings a bell around the world. How did you get to that client, or how did they find you? How does this go in a process?
Well, there was actually, I think we have our work at Rosanna Orlandi, and I think they have seen our work on her website because they sent us a picture from her website. There was a girl working there, and she used to study at the design academy as well. So there is kind of like a close relationship, and she asked a friend who knows us, like, hey, do you know those girls? Can they do something? He said, oh, I'll ring them. And he said, hey, Alissa+Nienke, can you also do this and this and this? And we said, yeah, we can also make it bigger. So this is a little bit like how it went. I think we are very lucky here in the Netherlands that we have this really big design network, and especially it's a really small city, Eindhoven, but everyone is really very close to each other. The school is also very small. There are only 500 students at a time studying there. So you kind of know everyone from different years as well. So
So it's really this combination of having a network, which doesn't always have to mean networking events. This was just someone we knew, like as a friendly relationship, combined with getting yourselves out there in the world, and that we were showing work at the gallery in Milan. And then also when you have such a question from a client, we always say, yes, we can do it. No matter what, we will figure it out. And then you also see that from this piece that we did for Taipei, which was still like a smaller piece, the questions actually grew. So we did a lot of shops in Asia, and then also in Europe. And then we also received questions from their architecture team, like, what else can you do? Can you do site-specific designs? Can you create something for metal for this space? And those are the interesting things. So also this client relationship grows over time.
And I think what is also very important, what we really have learned after graduating, is really to not be shy. And because at some point we also suggested things ourselves, and at this point we a while ago we said, well, we can also make facades for you if you want. And then they were like, oh, that's interesting, but they wouldn't come up with this like themselves. But now we are actually in conversation of designing a facade for them. And the other thing we did, we just really went there. Paris is not far from Eindhoven.
The architecture department of Christian Dior is in Paris.
Yeah. So if you have the opportunity to meet your clients, I would really advise to do so, because like this personal relationship is really important, and it's really going to help you, developing in your work and your relationship, and so that's how we went.
Yeah. No, it's always interesting to hear this, of course. Net, you still have your hand up, so I don't know if you have another question, but otherwise feel free. But and I have another question, and I will ask this to both of you, but start again with Alissa+Nienke. You showed us a lot of projects, and you took us to some of the processes, and obviously each project is different. But a question is, how long do these projects take? Because we see, for example, 6 slides on project A or B. How long is it in reality?
Oh, it really depends on the project. Because some projects, like if we get an assignment and then like they ask us to develop something in 3 months. This surface of sound, how many months was it? 4 months? 3?
Yeah,
really
like
fast.
That. Yeah.
But some of them are really year projects, because the Biomirror project is something we have worked on years ago, and we left it for a couple of years, and now we are continuing with it. So this is really like a long-term project.
But I think, for example, the sun show, for which we really developed the window blinds, like the material and also the whole system, the mechanical system behind it. I think we did it in half a year, and that was pretty fast for such a project. It would actually be better for our own well-being to take a year for it.
Yeah.
Jelena, a little bit the same question to you, and knowing the Russian environment a little bit, where clients can be very demanding also. So do you see a difference, for example, between how long projects take in Russia or what you see in other countries or not?
Да, я могу сказать, что различия присутствуют. Действительно, наверное, существует такой фактор, что в России клиентам часто нужно делать дизайн очень быстро. Есть даже такая шутка у нас, что когда клиент обращается, ему нужен интерьер уже вчера. Вот. И, к сожалению, это не способствует тому часто, чтобы проводить какие-то действительно глубокие исследования в рамках конкретного проекта для реализации каких-то идей. Поэтому, мне кажется, наверное, стоит разделять отдельно исследовательскую деятельность, как-то вот вести не в рамках какого-то конкретного проекта реализации исследования над какими-то материалами нам, и параллельно работать над реализацией каких-то проектов и по возможности внедрять какие-то уже наработки в проектирование конкретных интерьеров.
Thank you, Jelena. And before I go to the last question for you both, I have one question I should not forget in between for Alissa+Nienke. There was a question from Yekaterina. The curtains in the office that reacts to the sunlight, so at the Ministry of Education and Culture, how are they moved? Now, I think you've shown us a little, but is it via a magnet? So how do they react to the sunlight? Could you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, it's a mechanical system, so it's actually really simple because there is a roll in the top of the panel on the back, and it's rolling it up and down. It's basically like blind,
like a rolling blind.
Yeah.
And so it consists of two layers, like the front layer, which pops up and down, and the back layer actually is attached to that front layer at some points and then pulls it up, just like a pop-up book actually.
Yeah,
where you pull out a sheet of paper.
And then there is sensor attached to it, which measures the daylight, so it automatically moves up and down.
Yeah, we programmed it in such a way that it does that smoothly, so not with every cloud that you're like buried. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Yekaterina also understood, so that's perfect. Hey, last question from my side, and of course I will give Jeanette the last word if she wants it. But could you both, Alissa+Nienke and Jelena, give us perhaps an insight in what you are working on now, maybe something, a glimpse in the future? Yeah, you, Alissa+Nienke, you mentioned you're talking about facades now with your client, but maybe there's something else in store. Or B, if you cannot want to share, perhaps what trends do you see? And Jelena discussed that not the micro trends, but the macro trends, where students now should maybe be aware of what is happening in the world of design. So it's a very open and broad question, but I'm asking it anyway. Alissa+Nienke, please.
Yeah, one of the things we are working on at the moment is, of course, what Nienke mentioned before, is the facades for Dior, which is really in its baby steps still. I don't think we can actually really talk about it, but it's we've already told you. But and actually there's another exciting project more in the exterior field, so that's also still not sure we are working on it, but there's a project developer here in the Netherlands who is creating these large buildings, quite close to the seaside, and in between those buildings there will be a lot of wind coming through. So they actually want to block the wind coming from above with like large installations and sheets hanging in between the buildings. And they asked us if we could maybe design those in such a way that it forms a kinetic installation. So that would be really a great assignment if we get it, if we can actually, if we are like, we present it to them, but of course for a project developer it's always difficult, like, but what am I gonna get in the end? And for us, we always respond like, yeah, you are gonna get a functioning piece because we are collaborating with people who can do it, and we are creating this really nice experience. But because we are researching a lot and collaborating, it's not always very clear upfront what we can deliver. So that's always
a bit exciting for them as well, because they are really used to having like certainty.
Yeah. So we need to convince them. So we hope in half a year we can actually say that we are working on both of those projects.
Nice, thank you. And would you want to share maybe an advice where young designers or students, where should they look now for the latest trends? Should they look at Eindhoven, or should they maybe look elsewhere? Where are you looking for your inspiration?
Yeah,
question.
Because I think we do a lot based on feeling and what we see in the world around us. So we are not really like focusing on trends, like specifically looking at it.
No.
I think, yeah, trust your feelings. That's what I would say. But
yeah, but we always really loved going to exhibitions, but more art exhibitions. So our work, the aesthetics in our work are also quite influenced by the Zero movement, for example. So I think it can be really old art to nature, and you do not only need design fairs to know to define trends.
No, so stay open. Keep your eyes open and your ears open. That's also part of the advice. Thank you. Jelena, to you, please.
Ну, я хотела бы все-таки отметить курс на антропоцентризм, то есть исследование ощущений, эмоций человека при проектировании пространств, при организации света, при подборе материалов, при подборе мебели, при организации ритуалов воды. И также хочется отметить такую важную сейчас тенденцию, на которую все большее количество людей в нашей стране начинает обращать внимание. Это все-таки отказ от какого-то излишнего потребления, одна вещь вместо многих, и внимательное отношение к окружающей среде. К сожалению, пока у нас еще не так хорошо развиты инициативы, как в Голландии, касающиеся там переработки вещей, сортировки мусора. Пока сейчас это только развивающееся направление, но популяризация всех инициатив в области дизайна, которые связаны с этим направлением, вот я хотела бы отметить их, особенно сейчас для нас очень актуально. Спасибо.
Thank you, Jelena. I agree, of course, and I saw Alissa+Nienke, of course, nodding as well. Janette, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I guess some people in the audience are thinking of, dreaming of becoming a designer themselves. So could you please, all three of the speakers, say in one sentence a wise advice that you have learned in your experience, what to do or what not to do if you want to be a designer?
Okay, so I think what to do is really do it. So really make it, don't stay in your head too much. Of course, thinking is very important, but we really believe in thinking through making. So make and then think again and look at what you have done and just keep on going.
Yeah, and what I saw a lot at the academy and also afterwards is that people get blocked by the feeling that someone else has done it before already. But I really believe that when you just start doing something, it will always be authentic because you will create something totally new.
Nice advice. Jelena?
Да, спасибо. Здорово, что вы упомянули какую-то новизну. Сегодня в мире произведено огромное количество уже предметов дизайна. И при создании очередного предмета дизайна важно, на мой взгляд, все-таки, во-первых, обращаться к себе, к тому, что ты можешь и хочешь дать этому миру, и тогда это будет залогом того, что этот предмет будет абсолютно новый, уникальный, потому что в нем будет частица дизайнера. Это очень важно. Уникальность и ценность для потребителей, для человека.
Yeah, thank you, Jelena. And I think we've seen that today in your presentations, uniqueness and of course worth and well-being for the end user. If we start talking in economic terms, but that's all involves it, of course. I think we had a very nice lecture and discussion. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank Janette Verrijzer from the Netherlands Embassy in Moscow for being here with her opening word, for the support the embassy gives to our project. I want to thank Jelena Medvednikova, of course, for joining us tonight, and a special thanks to Alissa+Nienke also for sharing their insights in their beautiful installations. And we'll surely keep track of you, and we hope to see you, of course, in Russia, and then we'll get you together with Jelena, among others, and maybe you will be inspired by Russia, that it will come back in your future designs. Thank you, of course, dear attendees. We hope you liked the lecture. We will getting back with you with more lectures, of course. And for now, I wish everybody a very nice evening and happy May holidays for those whom it concerns. So thank you very much.